All right. Well, welcome to Homeroom today, Kings. We have an exciting next piece to the work we're doing for you today. If you remember from a couple weeks ago, we did have an issue with our live event when we were planning to bring these two lovely guest speakers to you to talk and answer some questions. And they're here today to do just that. So before we get started, I wanted to say that I'm super excited to continue this work in February and beyond. And our Black Student Union has lots of exciting work prepared for you over the next few homerooms. And we ask that you continue to communicate with your homeroom teacher and with us with any additional questions, thoughts, or ways you want to get involved. This involves all of us, and as we continue to build a safer school for every single student, we appreciate the support. With that, I'm going to pass it over to Simran, who's a junior from ACLU, who is going to introduce our speakers for today.
Hi everyone, my name's Simran. Mr. Grundle, Miss Wilson, along with the ACLU Club, have been working on hosting a video with a couple wonderful guest speakers we have here. And up first is our guest, Nikayla Rice. She's here to come talk about her experience leading a wonderful organization, how she focuses on diversity and racial justice within the community. All right.
Thank you so much. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Nikayla Rice. My pronouns are she, her. I'm here today to tell you my experience living on the East Side as a Black and Hispanic woman. Since moving here a year and a half ago, I can definitely see the divide. And what I mean by that is there are more Black Lives Matter signs in neighborhoods here than there are Black people. And that just makes me uncomfortable. When I started first speaking into my activism, I did not get the support that I thought I would. I had white women tell me specifically that I should be grateful for living here in Kirkland, and that should be it. I think that sets the precedent for how I feel about the East Side community. It's very much a bubble where it's very much a bubble where Blackout Fridays turn into Blackface Fridays, or where strangers touch your hair in public without consent, or when some teachers tell you that you're too sassy or too loud, and at the end of the day, it's our fault for being too sensitive. None of these things are perceived as racist because the majority of people living here don't experience them. I founded a nonprofit grassroots called Eastside Embrace that specifically amplifies Black voices and BIPOC voices in our community. We mediate workshops with white individuals on recognizing recognizing the racism. We host community forum events that give Black and BIPOC members a chance to speak to public officials, and we organize protests throughout Kirkland, Bothell, and Redmond. I want to continue living on the East Side, hopefully where my children are able to see more than 1 to 2 Black teachers by the time they're in high school. I also am working with King County Against Hate and Bias right now, conducting interviews with Black individuals and youth to further their understanding on how racism is in our communities and how we can combat it. If you have any questions or want to continue learning, you can email eastsidembrace@gmail.com or check out our website at eastsidembrace.weebly.com. Thank you so much, Lake Washington, for letting me speak today.
Thank you so much for giving such a wonderful speech. That was also really inspiring, and thank you for all you do for the community as well. Our second guest speaker is Joy Randall. She's a parent of students in the Lake Washington School District, speaking about her experience with facing and tackling racial injustices within our community. All right. Go.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much. Hello, Kings. I'm really happy to be here and just be part of this conversation. It's just the beginning. I hope it's only the beginning for you and for everyone in your sphere of influence, because these are such important conversations. So I have a lot to go through, so I'm gonna look and refer to my notes so I don't forget anything. But as Simran said, my name is Joy Randall. My pronouns are she, her. I reside in Redmond, originally the land of the Coast Salish people. I'm a parent to 2 middle schoolers in the district, and I've lived in Redmond since 2006. I moved to the Pacific Northwest back in 1997 from Michigan. I'm a first-generation immigrant. I was born in the Philippines and moved to Michigan with my parents at the age of 2. There I grew up in a predominantly white community. I was essentially one of a few, if not the only, Asian students in my school. So needless to say, it was very challenging growing up, seen as an outsider, a foreigner, an alien. People simply thought I was Chinese or Japanese because that's all that they were familiar with. I was very quiet and a shy student, and basically I just wanted to disappear from all the bullying and the taunts. So in order to be accepted, in order to survive, my family assimilated to this culture as much as we could. And I grew up feeling ashamed of my Filipina identity, my Philippine culture, and tried to erase that part of myself as much as possible. I was embarrassed about anything that had to do with my culture, from the foods my parents would pack in my lunch, to not wanting my friends to hear the language that we spoke at home, Tagalog. I wanted to fit in, and I wanted to be accepted as all kids just want to do throughout school. So not until college did I start embracing who I was, embracing my identity as a Filipino woman. I still experience discrimination and racism, anywhere from people wondering if I spoke English, to asking, "What are you?" to telling me, "I see you more as American than Filipino." Like that was supposed to be a compliment. I wasn't as shy or quiet as before, so maybe the anger and the frustration finally sparked something inside of me. I started calling out friends for telling racist jokes, and they would just say, "Oh, it's just a joke." And then I would ask, "Well, why are you saying it in a hushed voice so people wouldn't hear you?" And I began to feel that I had to learn what I could do to make a positive change in the world. So I studied social work and psychology, and I became a social worker. So I share this earlier part of my story because then, and for many years after I was still too quiet and I lived inside my bubble, I I mean, life just went on. I've experienced the oppression of white supremacy, and I've also benefited from it with my proximity to white privilege. I've felt sadness and anger over the injustices that I've heard on the news across the country and around the world. And not until this pandemic hit and it started impacting communities of color more than any other, and I saw how selfish and individualistic the refusal to provide a sufficient social safety net for those struggling, I just saw much more clearly how the systems are built to run this country. They only serve the privileged few. Then the murders of Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and George Floyd. And amidst my sadness and my anger, I decided I cannot stay silent any longer. I can't just sit in my bubble. So I guess you could say my bubble burst in a very big way. So I wanted to move from Michigan to an area that I felt was more diverse. That's why I'm out here. That's why this area did call to me. But then I realized that, even though I found more diversity here in the Pacific Northwest, I came to realize that diversity is not enough. A quota of more people of color does not equate more acceptance, inclusion, and belonging. We still maintain a system based on privilege rooted in white supremacy. And here on the East Side, I see the continued apathy and the silence. There really is a great divide due to our self-segregation, and that's in our neighborhoods and their schools. So the generations before you have failed to make big enough strides to fully realize a society that Martin Luther King Jr. dreamed of back in 1963. The opportunity was there, but our country did not want to fully face its history to truly make the changes for a just and equitable society. There's a common chant that I hear when I do attend protests and marches. The youth is the truth right now. And that is what gives me hope and inspiration for our future, because I do see a lot of young people who are really standing up, who are speaking up, who are putting in the real work that it's going to take to really change our world, to make this a just and equitable society. And I hope to see more. I hope to see more of you do something every day to commit, and not just BIPOC youth. So this is a pivotal time. And again, it's an opportunity. If we don't have the courage to do what it takes to face our true history, we begin dismantling systemic racism in so many of our institutions. If we don't do that, your children and grandchildren will be facing the same crisis as we are facing today. And I encourage you to follow and read many books as you can by Black authors, leaders, activists now, and those from before. Follow Nikayla Rice, please. She's an activist that I think you need to support and follow. Ensure that your own anti-racist journey in learning and unlearning is every day. How are we all complicit in upholding white supremacy? When we see something, say something. Don't let racism slide. We have to have the courage to call people in, have the difficult conversations. One of my favorite quotes from Angela Davis: in a racist society, it is not enough to be non-racist. We must be anti-racist. As students, how can the subjects you are studying be learned through a social justice lens? This can apply to all subjects, not just social studies. Are you learning enough about the contributions of Black, Indigenous, and people of color in science from history? Does the curriculum still center on Eurocentric, heteronormative, ableist, patriarchal focus? How do you feel this impacts our sense of the world and how we fit in it? How can we pop the bubble that we live in here on the East Side and we form a community mindset and we don't separate? So I'll close by saying that I'm honoring Martin Luther King Jr. not just once a year by remembering him and reading some of his famous quotes or speeches. I'm honoring him by committing every day to learn to be anti-racist, to learn about the Black women that were vital influences in his life too. His mother, Alberta Christine Williams King, his wife, Coretta Scott King, Mahalia Jackson, just to learn a few. We often leave out the impact that Black women have made in history, let alone how they have impacted leaders that we know and love. So because MLK was a leader of direct action, not only in marches and protests, but he also called upon elected officials to hold them accountable, to work towards equity for all. So honoring his legacy with action, we have to commit every day, not just on his holiday, but each day, whether that's supporting Black-led organizations that work towards equity. Get and stay involved in our local politics, because we will fully see how much work and change that will honor Martin Luther King truly. And so finally, in his own words, our goal is to create a beloved community, and this will require a qualitative change in our souls, as well as a quantitative change in our lives. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your wonderful presentation. That was really well said, especially hearing your experiences living in our community as a social worker and making a change was really inspiring as well. Okay, so now to move on from your guys' speeches, we have collected several questions from students at LW, and I would like to start off by asking Nikayla the first question. And a commonly asked question was, how is equity different from equality in your opinion?
Can Joy answer that one? She's so much better explaining this than I am, but I'll answer the next one.
Oh, I'm sorry. This one was meant for Joy. Sorry, Joy. Go ahead.
Yeah, no problem. I'm gonna quickly share my screen, if that is okay, and just sort of bring up a picture here. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, so we could see a photo, well, it's a drawing actually of, we see people watching a baseball game. And so here you see these three people are standing on these boxes, okay? And obviously we see the different size of these different people. And so this is what I consider called equality. So where we distribute equal allocations of resources to people, which are these crates or squares. But as you can see, like this tall person doesn't really need it, right? Because they can see the baseball game quite well, as this person as well. But this smaller person still cannot see the baseball game because it's still not tall enough. But if you look at this drawing right here, this is what is considered equity. Equity is the distribution of resources to people based on their need. So you could see here, this person can still see the game, does not need this crate. This person, well, has a crate, can see well, but two of these crates are given to this smaller person. So all of these people have the opportunity. All these people have that chance, but the distribution of resources is different. So that is a difference between equality and equity. So I hope that explains a little bit, and I will stop sharing my screen.
Thank you. That picture is actually a really great example and definitely clarified it for me as well. Okay, well, the next question will be for Nikayla, and this is, did your experience with racism cause you to be uncomfortable with yourself? And if so, how did you gain your confidence back?
Um, okay, so my experience with racism here definitely makes me uncomfortable with myself in a lot of things. Even though I wasn't a youth here, like I've said before, it's really hard to live in a community where there's only a few of people who look like you and have experience and have that community. So the way I gain my confidence, honestly, is self-love, but mostly building that community, building a strong, safe environment where I can talk about issues, or I can just talk and be listened to, and people can hold space. And that's what I'm doing right now, and it's definitely helped, because especially this month of January has been extremely hard. And I have Joy and so many other individuals living here, and they're just amazing, and they help me with that. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing your personal experience as well. And the last question that I wanted to ask, I would love for both of you to answer because, yeah, how do you think schools can incorporate educating their students about racism more in the curriculum?
I think Joy definitely got to say that teaching the curriculum is something that is really important. Not just going through and reading, the one or two chapters that you have in your history. I think it should go way more in depth so we know. And having having meetings like the ones we're having right now are definitely a really good step into that.
Well, I guess I just wanted to say, and well, one, I'm sorry my presentation was so long. I didn't mean to take up so much space, but in regards to just trying to integrate just the acknowledgement and addressing of racism and issues of inequity and equality in schools, I mean, we have a lot of work to do. And I really feel like as students, you have so much power. You have so much power that you could make changes, because I really feel that many of us can agree that our curriculum really needs to be changed. Black History Month, for just 1 month out of the year in February, just talking about Martin Luther King in January, just for his day, is just simply not enough. It is not enough. We need to simply integrate what is just history into the curriculum and not make it so specialized. Just make it part of history. I mean, I'm sorry, as an adult, I've been out of high school a long time now, and I am just learning about so many Black inventors, so many just people of color that have impacted history. I mean, honestly, it's just really right now blowing my mind how much I feel like was hidden, was really hidden. And so I guess what I'm asking is for the students to really be involved and to ask the questions like, what about more of these Black inventors? What about what about more of these people like Malcolm X, like Angela Davis, who is still alive and has been such a significant part of history. It's so important. And so I think that is maybe the beginning of trying to make changes in the school. And then, of course, for parents, we have to push parents to also equally make it known to like our school board members, to our district in general, that we really want to see more of this and more of these discussions, because I think it's really a shame we haven't done this yet.
Yes.
Yes, I totally agree with you. And from what I know of, a lot of schools in our district are working on decolonizing the history curriculum. So hopefully they go through with the entire plan of doing so. But thank you so much for answering the questions and presenting your speeches.
Thank you for having
Yeah.
us.
Thank you both so much on behalf of the Lake Washington staff and our student body. We so appreciate you bringing your perspective into this work we're doing. It has been an incredible year for me of growth and learning, and our theme for this work has been realizing all of our place in it, you know, especially as a white male teacher in this community, and figuring out how we can all be anti-racist like you talked about. So thank you so much. We appreciate you, and we hope to bring you back at some time soon. And yeah, have a great day, and we'll see you soon.